I want to go straight into the framework and I want to give people the playbook. And so, step one, and I'll read it out and I want to get your reaction, is identify a painful workflow. Find a problem worth solving. The foundation of any AI startup is identifying an inefficiency that AI can automate or enhance. Instead of chasing broad AI ideas, focus on specific, tedious workflows that people are willing to pay to fix. What did you mean by that? Identify a painful workflow.
I have this thesis that when you're in SaaS software and you see a export button, that every time you see an export button, there's a $1 to $100 million a year AI business that could replace that export button. Now, the reason I mean that, I'll explain why. And the reason why is when you're exporting data, traditionally you have some sort of analysis. Like the reason you're exporting it is you're doing some analysis around the data itself. So for example, I'm doing my taxes this week and I exported data from my bank because I wanted to categorize some of the expenses. Now the categorization today is being done by human beings. But going back to our earlier conversation, what happens when you can have human intelligence on tap? When you can essentially, human-like intelligence on tap. When you can essentially turn on intelligence and analyze data. So what I mean by find a painful workflow, is it painful for me to go and categorize my financial data? Like, yeah, kind of. Like, to be honest, like I'd much rather be like hanging with my baby or, pushing code or designing or being a bit more creative. And I think what people need to do is in their day-to-day lives, when they see things like export buttons and when they are a part of a workflow that they feel tedious, prompt yourself and say, if this could be done via AI, what would that look like?
You know what? Can you actually, because I want to make it so real for people, can you give some examples of companies either that you've built or you've seen other people build these AI companies where basically they identified almost like a pretty niche pain point and they've managed to build a tool around it or a service that is now generating millions of dollars for them in their business?
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you have? Like, I'll just tell you one that I was looking at literally right before this call. There is a company called Icon. I'll share my screen. Can I share my screen?
I think so.
Yeah. So anyone who's created Facebook ads or Instagram ads knows that it's tedious. It's very tedious. You have to find an actor, and by the way, I'm not involved in any way in this company. I just thought it was cool. Yeah, you have to like find a creator, you have to manage the creator, you have to edit the videos, you have to write copy, and the best, people who know Facebook ads know that the best people create hundreds, if not thousands, of ads and test the best ones, and they always need to be creating new ads. How tedious does that sound? It sounds super tedious, right?
Yeah.
So, here, even on their website, they say coming up with 100 unique 30-second scripts is painful. Creating 3 permutations of each of the 100 ads makes the pain even worse. So their solution, first AI ad maker. Think ChatGPT plus CapCut, but for making winning ads with AI in minutes. Ad GPT gets your ads to 80, 99% complete. Make edits with AdCut, CapCut for ads, and prompt Ad GPT until you're happy. 3-person creative teams make 30 ads per month. With Icon, they make 300 and get more winners. That's a big deal. And by the way, look at these. Like, these are AI. This is AI, dude.
Mm.
It doesn't look like AI, but these are AI. Look,
So the
you
actual
bring a
creative
script.
itself is AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have AI generated creators. That's what they call it.
Hmm. You know what? I'm just thinking about the person at home that's listening. And so I like what you mentioned of like anytime you see an export button, there's a potential pain point that you could monetize. And so the thing that I would not push back, but the thing that I would be thinking is like, how does someone figure out the difference? How does someone basically figure out the pain point that they should actually act on? And by that, I mean, it's not just like a minor inconvenience that no one would pay for. It's actually a pain point big enough that you can monetize it. Like, how does someone make that decision?
I think a lot of people watching this video work at jobs which they don't like that much, or that they think that they can unlock their potential a little bit more, and they listen to this because it fires them up. That's my thesis based on like the comment section that I saw on this on this channel and stuff like that. So that means that, so you might look at this business icon and be like, how would I, it doesn't seem that painful. It doesn't, I don't really see it. But if you're a marketing manager working at an e-commerce startup and you're creating 20 ads a month, you probably know it's pretty painful. You probably don't like doing it. So if anyone has good ideas for AI startups, it's people who work at jobs they don't like and doing painful stuff. So if you're watching this and you can take stock of, here's the 2 or 3 things that I do that are repetitive, that I don't like doing, chances are there's a good chance that you can plug an AI startup to go and fix that workflow and make it a lot more efficient with they call it a human in the loop. Maybe it's not fully AI powered, but you can still have a human review the ad. Icon is an example of a human in the loop business. It's not like it's fully automated where you just say, hey, I need 300 ads, and it's going to go and optimize this click-through rates and the cost per click and everything. No, you still have a human who looks at the ads, who posts the ads, stuff like that. So that's what I would say to those people.
Yeah. I just think it's so good. And it's almost like step one is like, just do an audit of your own work life. And like those 2 to 3 areas, and we all know them, right? Those 2 to 3 things that you do every single week that is so painful and so tedious, your AI business idea is right there.
It's right there. You think that the biggest AI business ideas are somewhere in Stanford, but they're right here. Because these people have intimate knowledge around these workflows better than anyone else, right? So you're competing. People who are creating AI startups, they're going to compete with the people who listen to this, and they're going to try to figure out, how do I get some insider? Like, the people listening to this are the insiders, basically, funny enough, because these people know the workflows.
Yeah. Okay, okay, so step 2, hack V1 fast. Launch an imperfect MVP quickly. Rather than spending months refining a product, quickly launch a minimum viable product to validate demand. Can you talk through that?
Yeah. The mistake that a lot of people make is they find a tedious workflow and they're like, I know that this is going to be a big business. I'm going to go and create a big brand around this. I'm going to go create a deck around this. I'm going to go and spend the next 6, 9, 12 months building this fully featured product, because that's what this audience needs in order for it to be very valuable. And the goal isn't, the goal is to create a minimal lovable product. People talk about minimal viable product. It's actually to create a minimal lovable product. And thinking about how can you use tools like Replit and Bolt and stuff like that to just get something out there that you can just gain some, like, have a foundation. Think of it as like a foundation. You don't need to build, Rome in one day, and that's what I mean by that. Just get something out there, and iterate from there.
Mm. I actually, Greg, I have a confession to make, which is um, the first two businesses that I ever tried to start, they were t-shirt lines in university, spectacular failures, like complete flops. And the biggest thing that I did wrong is I tried to develop this perfect product. At the time, it was like when the kind of athleisure trend was starting. And I was like, I'm going to build the next Nike. I'm going to build the next Air Jordan. And we just never ended up releasing a product because I would just keep trying to make it perfect before I would show anyone. And it speaks exactly to what you're saying, which is you don't need the perfect product. You need the minimum lovable product. I think that's just so good.
Well, I'll tell you why a lot of people want to create the perfect product, because it's actually similar to why people don't post on social media. So the reason why people don't post consistently on social media and build audiences is because a lot of the time they feel like they're getting judged by their friends and family. And it doesn't feel good to put out a tweet and get 0 likes, especially after your 40th tweet. And it isn't fun to post on Instagram and see no likes and just seeing a lot of shares, because you're like, the reason why people are sharing this is they're sharing it. My friends, quote unquote, are sharing this and they're making fun of me. And they're like, why is Greg posting about AI coding tools? That's so lame, or something like that. Products are the same way, in the sense that we want to be proud of the products that we ship. We don't want to put something out in the world that we're not proud of. And that's why, like, a lot of us are Steve Jobs like, in the sense, it sounded like you were kind of like Steve Jobs-esque in the sense that you're like, I know what I want and I know what needs to get out there, and I have a high barrier for what makes an incredible product. And that's why I need to perfect it. But the way to perfect is actually just consistency and iteration. So the way you actually get perfection is to put something out there, get feedback, iterate from there. And I wish more people would just amp up the quantity of things that they put out there. And realize that as you amp out quantity, you will increase quality. Because I know that there's someone listening to this and they're saying, oh my God, his philosophy is just put crap out there and something will stick. And I'm not saying put crap out there. I'm just saying that what you think is the product is usually, instead of 10 features, it's usually 1 feature. And then the way to get to 10 features is actually by iterating your way and adding 1 feature at a time.
Okay, so if you enjoyed this episode, you're going to absolutely love what we did with this one right here. Click here.